Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions presents the DJ Sessions virtual sessions. I'm your host, DJ Darren. I'm not even a DJ. Wow, I love doing live streaming shows because mix-ups, screw-ups can always happen. Welcome Dave Lambert to the DJ Sessions presents the virtual sessions, coming in all the way from Meerdonk in Belgium. Dave, how's it going today?
Yes. Hi, DJ Darren. How you doing, man?
Actually, that's not my DJ net. I'm not a DJ. I only play one on live streams. It's kind of a
Okay.
funny thing about it, but no, I'm
Then
executive.
you're a DJ. Huh?
I don't
Yeah.
DJ. I don't DJ. I don't produce. Not
Yeah.
yet, anyways. But Dave, thank you for coming on the DJ Sessions virtual sessions today. You know, you're coming in from Belgium. I went over your bio. You've been doing this for a long time now. You know, when did
Yes.
you get started? And we were talking a little bit pre-show about how you got started as a DJ. Tell us about
Yeah.
how you got started DJing and what led you to where you're at, kind of where you're at now.
Actually, the city you're based in was one of the first things I noticed when listening to music. So all the Seattle scene, the rock scene, that was something that really inspired me. And I started out as a rock DJ in 1990 here in Antwerp, which is like 50 minutes from my place. So I started out in a club and organized my own events called Seattle Rock. And yeah, when I got older and evolved a little bit more into the electronic scene, and now yeah, we're 2024 and I'm still here, but not doing the rock stuff anymore, but only doing the electronic stuff. So yeah, but still listen to it in the car, by the way. So
And you're producing tracks and everything as well, correct?
yes, yes,
And you
indeed.
know, how long have you been? Did you started out DJing first and then got into producing, or was it synonymous and doing it both at the same
In
time?
in the first place, I'm a DJ, and the producing came afterwards. So actually, I worked for a record company in from 2000 to 2010, and met so many producers, and they all said to me, hey, why don't you step into the studio with us and let's do something together. And that's how I made my first track with a friended producer. He showed me a little bit the ropes on how everything's done, and yeah, produced a lot of tracks back in the day. Then went a little bit silent a couple of years, and now recently did some stuff on Hell Deep and on Diablo's label, Sub Religion, one of his sub labels. So, and yeah, I'm back in the studio. I think the pandemic also had something to do with it. It gave me a little bit more time, and yeah, it inspired me to do a little bit more on the producing side.
Now you have a label, but you have some new releases coming out. Are you able to talk about those new releases? Are they public information yet? Or I know some people
They're
like to hold it
actually
back.
at the moment, yeah, at the moment they're still in the works, so it's not nothing that's finished yet.
Okay.
But I'm setting up a new label. So we have a huge brand here in Belgium called Zillion, which used to be a club. Also, yeah, end of the 90s, beginning 2000. Even made a movie about it, which was released in Belgium, Holland, and France. Just to give you an idea, we have 11 million people that live here in Belgium, and over 1 million people saw that movie in the theater. So not on television, but in the theater. So it was a huge, huge thing back in the day. The club where I used to be a resident,
Wow.
and with that brand, we're doing a lot of big events here in Belgium, and with the same brand, now we're setting up a new record company. Yeah.
You know, I've been to A to E the last couple years, 2022, 2023. I love Amsterdam, but I would love to start getting out to Belgium and Ibiza and even Barcelona for I think it's IMS.
Yes,
Even come out and get to Tomorrowland one of these days.
you should.
Got I love Europe. It's such a great feeling. I've been stateside my whole life doing the show, and we used to focus on U.S. audience or when the artist would come over here. And that's
Yeah.
not so much anymore because everyone's still waiting for their visas to get approved. But now, because of Pandy, we're able to do interviews with you. You're halfway around the world, and we were talking a little bit
Yeah.
about that pre-show that now people are ready to do Zoom interviews, and we can talk with them and put them out to an international audience. And we're looking to work with many different people from all over the world, whether they're over in the East or over in Europe in the West or even South America. I work with people in India. I don't,
Yeah,
we work
yeah, of
in
course.
Australia. It's all fun. It's really cool the electronic music community and how it's grown and how technology has advanced. Um, Now I
Yeah,
see
for
you
sure.
also mentioned you're a booking agent for Zillion.
Yeah, so for a couple of companies. So I'm also in the management of a club in Hasselt, which is about an hour drive from where I'm based. But it's a huge club. It's called Versuz and has like a 3,500 to 4,000 capacity club. So it's a huge complex. It actually holds two clubs. So we have the more commercial side, which is Versus, where we book. Yeah, who did we book in the past 6 months? We had Alok, we had Hugo, we had James Hype, we had yeah, a lot of big names, you know. And besides that, next door we have Labyrinth, which is our underground club. It's called Area V actually, and Labyrinth is a concept that's held there, where Amelie Lynn started out, and we have Kolsch, we had Maceoplex, we had all Richie Houghton, so all the underground scene. So it's like a huge venue combined into two clubs. When there, I also do the bookings for the more commercial side of the club. Um, Besides that, I've done so many things in the past. Also, I used to do parties in Miami during the Winter Music Conference at Nikki Beach. I did that for 17 years. Also booked all the DJs there. I did
Which
bookings
beach?
Nikki Beach at
Oh,
in
Nikki. I
Miami.
thought you said Naked Beach.
No, you wish, you wish. Yeah. No, no, it's Nikki Beach, and next to that, I'm also doing a lot of bookings for the Formula One in Belgium. So I also did that for Turkey 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm involved with booking. So a lot of people come to me if they want to book a really big name, like top 10 guys, because I know the booker, I know the manager. So which makes it sometimes a little bit easier than when people out of the blue send the mail to get the booking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to pick your brain on that. Where, like I said, we're open up to talking with all different music industry professionals in the electronic music world. So definitely want to talk with you about that after the
Yeah,
show and see who we might be able to get some interviews with and fun stuff like that.
yeah. Who
Um,
knows? Who knows? Yeah.
yeah, so you have a new label coming up with Zillion
Yes.
as well. Tell our DJ
Yes.
Sessions fans all about that.
So Zillion, like I said before, was a club in '90s, early 2000s. So the we started out with events and parties, more focusing on the music we played back then. So it was more like classics DJ sets. But the owner from Zillion is he's a real tech guy, and he's into the LED business. Just to give you an idea, he does all the LED for Tomorrowland. He does all the LED for the Formula One. Does all the LED for the World Cup. So he has a huge technical background, and he always wants to innovate. That's also why they made a movie about this club, because back in the day, it was so advanced that everybody talked about the club, and then due to a scandal, the club was shut down, was all over the media. But even like 10, 15 years later, they make a movie about it, and it has such a huge impact. So the owner was like, okay, let's try and do something new. How would the club sound if it was open today? So then we started doing more events. We booked guys like Adana Twins, more into the melodic techno scene. We also did an event with Paul Van Dyk and Ali and Fila and Chicane, which was more trancy. And that's what we're doing now. So we have 5 labels representing the 5 types of events that we do. So, and
Wow.
that's starting in September. So we're now signing a lot of new tracks, trying to push new producers into the scene. So yeah, that's something that's developing right now, and that we're planning to release somewhere September.
Nice. If you could describe the label's sound, I mean,
Yes.
because we're toying with the idea of launching a label here at the DJ Sessions.
Hmm.
You were taking a look at our website earlier. We were talking about it. And we're really proud of it. But there's so much more we can do with our website that people don't even know that we're getting ready to launch. And one of those things is, it is built to basically be a label, and we're still determining what that sound's going to be. Are we going to only have internal people that are our resident DJs and producers be able to submit, or are we going to take outside submissions? Are we going to, is it going to be house music? Going to be trance music? Or is it going to be every genre that we could take and,
Hmm.
try to get it out there? And it's such a huge endeavor to take, because it's just like one more
It
arm
is.
or one more caveat that we already got to do, in addition to our
Yeah.
interviews, our news stories, our exclusive mixes, and the events that we put on. But if you could describe the music of your label in three words,
Then I have to
how would you
say it
describe it?
in 15 words because we have 5 labels. So
That's what I'm saying.
uh,
That's what I'm saying.
so the first label is the classics with 3 X's.
Okay.
And what we want to do there is bring music from back in the day, put it in a new jacket, and release the old one and the new version. Also do vinyl because vinyl is very hot again at the moment. That's one. Then another is projects, which is also an event name. We did a couple of
Okay.
big shows with projects. That's more techno. So and it can go from hard techno to Adam Bayer techno to everything that is into the techno scene. Then we have Illuminati, which is more trance. So there we're gonna work with guys like Airwave, a lot of transy stuff that we're gonna push again because it's also something that's been away for a couple of years. But I really feel that the trance scene is coming up again. Then we have Ground, which is more melodic techno. Uh, so it can go from melodic house to melodic techno. And then we have Sundays, and Sundays is also a concept of the club, and it's going to be more housey, so it can go from Afro house to garage house to everything that has to do with house music.
Are all five of these labels all five separate branded entities, or are they under one umbrella?
So they're under the Zillion umbrella, but they're all marketed separate.
So, is there a website for Zillion that I could go and click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these?
It's not
What
online
website?
yet. It's not online, but you can check out the YouTube after movies from the event, so you get an idea of the scale of the events that we do, and you can go to zillion.xxx. So Zillion with a Z, Z E L L.
ZILLIONXXX
Yes, dot XXX.
dot XXX. So
Yeah,
like this.
I'm sure that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. And
I
if
can
you
do
go
quick
to
little production things here in the back end. That's
perfect,
why I love this
perfect.
platform.
Yeah,
Awesome sauce. Well, thank you for dropping zillion.xxx. I was recently looking at domain names. I started up a new website for a branch. We do silent disco events. So I had to go through domain names, and I was looking at all the new dot, other than
yeah,
.com
yeah,
or .net or
yeah.
.org, all of them there. And I saw
You didn't see
.xxx,
this
and I was
one.
like, oh, I didn't know that existed. Nice.
Yes.
That's always
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, the new what are they called? There's a term for it, and I can't remember
Yeah.
what. Not
I cannot think of it too, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's the everything after the dot. There's a name for that. Anyways, I could talk about that stuff all day long. So, what can we expect from the course? If you had to pick one of the labels as your like, you have five of them. I know what it's like because I used to have 8 separate television shows
Yeah.
approved on 13 stations on the West Coast, and somebody would always ask me, "What's your favorite one?" And
Difficult.
it's like difficult because I was covering topics that I liked. I mean, it was nightlife,
Mhm.
restaurants, art, fashion, video games, sports, comedy, live music, and it's like, which one is my favorite one? All of them were fun because I was producing them. I wouldn't produce something I didn't like, but
Yeah.
it's funny that nightlife kind of took precedence in all of this. And we had ITV Nightlife that kind of morphed into ITV Live, which is our live stream on, to the DJ sessions. ITV Live presents the DJ sessions, and then the DJ sessions became its own entity outside of
Okay.
ITV. If you had to pick one of the labels, is there one that gets the cherry on top that you're really jazzed about, or is it same like me, like
Well,
all of them are
for me,
amazing?
it's a little bit like what I do as a DJ. I'm a little bit of a chameleon and do a lot of different stuff. So I do a lot of classic events, but I also do melodic techno. I do house events. I do even tech house. I did warm-ups for Fisher and guys like that, so I can really shift from left to right. But if I have to pick one label of those five, I would say I would go for Ground, because also we did a couple of more events with Ground already, and I really feel also that that's really the sound that Zillion would be if the club still existed right now. So it's a little bit more in the melodic techno area.
Melodic techno. And what is the most important thing that record labels should do for their artists? And out there on the whole, are they doing a good job with that? Or there's something that you see that other labels don't do that you think should be done at the like mandatory? And are you
It's
doing a good job with that? Or are they doing a
it's
good job with
really
that? What's your take on
difficult.
that?
Yeah, it's really difficult nowadays to get into the limelight and to get into the picture of the big guys, because there is so much music being produced and released, not only produced but also released. It's yeah. I think if I open up my promo inbox, it has like 300 promos every day. So it's impossible to listen to everything. And I'm not even a really A-listed DJ, so imagine if you're Fisher or if you're Vintage Culture or Armin van Buren or whatever, the amount of music that's dropped. And yeah, so to stand out, I think you have to go and work on various ideas. So we're very visual. Frank, the owner of Zillion, is very visual and is very technical, and wants to stand out from the crowd. So I think if you want to make a difference, people should notice you. And how can you be noticed is because you have content that people are blown away with. So, and I think that's going to be one of the key factors in the record company that we're going to do. And next to that, yeah, you also need the support from all the big guns, all the big DJs. That's really important to get somewhere in the scene. So, but also there, I think, yeah, we have a good fan base, and also we know a lot of people. So I think if we really have the right production and we send it to the right guy, yeah, he will pick up on it. I'm pretty convinced of that.
Yeah, no, I that's exactly the worry that I worry about is if I open up the floodgates and say, we're a label, give us your submissions. I'm the
Yeah,
guy running operations over here. I don't have time to listen, and I don't know who's going to hit it, especially when I put it out there to the socials, and
yeah,
I get flooded. Even if I got flooded with 50 a day,
yeah.
I wouldn't have time. I mean, I could put them on in the background, but I can't listen to them while I'm doing interviews. I can't
No,
listen
that's
to them
true.
while I'm doing phone calls, and I'd
It
want to
takes a
give
lot
them
of
their
time.
attention they deserve because I do. It reminds me of a process when I started back in the day. It totally reminds me. I had short films was one of those other genres of the TV
Hmm.
shows I used to produce, and I talked to a local film festival here, and they gave me all the submissions that didn't make it into the film festival. And this
Yeah.
guy had boxes and boxes and boxes of DVDs and VHS tapes of
Huh.
people's submissions. And I sat back and I was going through it, and I'd say probably, and I was cataloging them, like making notes. Some were great, some were
Yeah,
POS,
yeah.
but I remember opening up the first box and I got about 30 of them in. And I started to have kind of and this is early on, and I was comfortable producing my own work, but
Yeah.
judging somebody else's work.
Difficult.
And I was
Yeah.
sitting there thinking to myself, what if somebody was judging my work? I think my stuff is good, but then there's somebody
Yeah.
out there look at it and they go, this looks like crap, you know? And I remember I kind of had this little mini panic attack. And I thought to myself, who am I? And this is
To
early
judge.
on in my executive producing, running my own shows days.
Mhm.
Who am I to decide what is good and what is bad? What are my credentials to say that? And I know somebody has probably poured their heart and soul and they believe in it. And to send them a rejection notice,
Yeah.
that could crush somebody's feelings. I'm sitting there going, what gives you that power? And I came to myself, I said, you know what? I have an obligation to my audience. I have an obligation to my sponsors. I have an obligation to my investors, and I need eyeballs watching the show. And it's my call as the executive producer to sign off on what's going to have eyeballs, or get more eyeballs, or get more attention on my show. And right there, it snapped with me. I went,
Yeah.
"Yep, you're the head person in charge. You're going to go with this, and that's what's going to air." and that kind
Yeah,
of got
and
me over that hump. And I didn't feel bad anymore that I was judging or critiquing people's work. I was
mhm.
looking at what's going to engage our viewership and bring them back to our show and want them to keep coming back and watching the show. And I'm
And
sure that happens with a label as well. You could pick something that's hot, but it may not climb the B chart parts. It might not go anywhere. And
I used to do a promotion for a label for 4 years, and I used to go to the radio station with all the new productions every week. Trying to convince them to play it on national radio. And sometimes, I did a couple of records from Toca Disco. I'm sure you're familiar with. Even when the record was top five in the dance chart in Belgium, even then radios didn't want to pick up on it. And I was like, guys, this is a hit record. And this is a funny story because a couple of years later, I met one of those radio guys that refused to play the record. And he came to me and said, yeah, we were wrong there because the record blew up anyway, even without airplay from the radio. But still, it's so important for an artist to have radio airplay and to get out there. So, but it's always a pain in the ass. And also, if you have to decline records, just be respectful, because it's not because you don't like it that nobody else would like it. So sometimes it's not for your label, but it can be a huge record for another label. So, and I think the motivation needs to be to never give up and always believe in what you do.
have you ever had that happen where you've seen yourself, you passed on a track, but then later found out it blew up the charts, and you're like, "Oh, I could have had that."
It's a funny thing, because after the record label was called CNR Mostico, and after that we founded our own label with Versuz, the club where I'm still doing all the bookings and I'm still resident DJ for. We also did a label there, and we did with a couple of guys, and one of my crew was Sam Thomason. He's also a producer DJ, and he had a young guy calling him 5 times a day, trying to get him to listen to one of the records he sent. And I was like, yeah, okay, if this guy is annoying you or bugging you, you just be honest and tell him it's not for us, just be honest. And then I think a week or 6, 7 later, I found out that guy that was calling was Oliver Heldens, and he wanted to sign Gecko to us, which was one of the major records he has done. That was the record that blew him up in the scene. So yeah, things like that can happen, but that's the thing, you cannot listen to everything you get sent. That's
You know, you know,
impossible.
you know what I might do is, back in the day, I used to run internet radio stations out of my house. I had a server, and I would run an internet radio station, and had a number of different genres. Just it was more of an experiment, just to say we had it as part of our ITV
Hmm.
lineup. We had the ITV shows, but then I had the ITV station, and I'd take local artists and I'd put them in a rotating loop, on the station, and put them up there just to give them some exposure, get them out there. They could share and say, this is infant Facebook stages. MySpace was big at the time, but I wonder if I would just maybe say, hey, maybe part of my label could be like, hey, it's maybe we don't sign it, but we definitely would get you some airplay on one of our DJ sessions radio stations or something like that, or get you in rotation somehow,
Hmm.
at least to get them some exposure. Like, here you go, and it's all hoping you submit it to us, we'll drop it in there, and I mean, I wonder how fast that would fill up.
Very fast,
Very
because I
fast.
think,
I mean,
yeah, I think you have a lot of
if
young
the
guys,
average track is
a lot
four
of
minutes,
producers. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, if the average track was, say, 4 minutes, you could get 15 of those an hour. So 15 times 24, you're looking at,
Yeah.
that's how much you get, and then you have to curate that on and on with up and new music. So
Yeah, no, I think yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Well, congratulations on the 5 labels. I mean, that just must be, the 5 labels, the booking company, working with the artists, getting them out there. That's awesome stuff. When it comes to your career as an
Yes,
artist, who has been the biggest influence when it comes to your career, and why?
yeah, that's a very good question. I have to think, because I have so many influences, so it's really difficult. But
And you don't want
uh,
to upset anyone either and say, "Hey, I got you your first
no,
booking. It wasn't for me."
no. I think, for me, my career started out in the big clubs in Belgium. So I used to be a resident DJ in the three biggest clubs in Belgium. So that was Zillion, Versus, where I'm still a resident today, and La Rocca, which was a really cool club in the Antwerp area. So yeah, to say one name that really put me out there, I have to say the first residency I got was a little club called Le Bozo, and this was for me. The guy who booked me there, he gave me the first shot of being a resident DJ in a famous club. So for me, that was my biggest influence and my biggest career step on a level when I have to say, okay, if I listen to other DJs and saying like I want to become like him or whatever, I would go for Solomon even years back when he wasn't that famous. Yeah, because he always did his own thing. He never took trends. He never changed his style of music. He just, yeah, he just does what he likes, and people pick up on it. And also there, it takes longer to get there, but when you get there, you build up a fan base. Because I've seen a lot of DJ producers that follow trends, and yeah, that's more difficult.
I've heard that from a number of producers and DJs that have come on the show over the years. Is that they suggest, one of the top things I'll ask is if you could get some advice to a up and coming producer, up and coming DJ, what would that be? And a lot of the times they say don't follow the trends, because
No,
by the time, if you're thinking that's what's number one and you want to go produce what the number one trend is, by the time you get something out there, it could shift.
yeah,
You could be
exactly.
doing progressive trance and that's hot right now, but then it goes to tech house, then it
Yeah,
switches to the deep house, and then it goes up, to trance, or
and
just
always
trance, trance, or tech.
you have to have,
It bounces all over. So they say just produce what you love,
yes,
and then focus on that, and be all over the spectrum, experiment, and
yes,
I have people that tell me sometimes they have tracks they sit on, they make a bid, and this is their hot tracks and this is the stuff they work on, and then maybe once a year they'll come back and go into the old folder and pull something out and go, hey, let's work on that now,
yeah.
and you never know what's gonna click out there,
And
but it's just
some of
don't
the
follow the
biggest
trends is
records,
one of those
yeah,
things.
some of the biggest records were B-sides, were not even the record that they initially thought it was going to be a hit. So you
Exactly.
you never
Exactly.
know.
So, moving forward out of the label spectrum and going to gigs coming up, you have a gig. I was going through your socials, looking at what you got going on, and was looking at some of the past gigs that you've done. We'll talk about that in a moment. But you have a gig on July 5th coming up. Tell our DJ Sessions fans about that gig coming up on July 5th.
Yeah, it's Rock Werchter, which is next to Tomorrowland, one of the, yeah, it's the biggest festival in Belgium. So I played there a couple of times before, but it's been a couple of years, and now they requested me again to play Rock Werchter. So I'm really happy about that. Also happy to be back at Tomorrowland, obviously, but I've been doing that for every year. So Rock Werchter is just, yeah, something different because it's a rock festival that also have electronic stages, but the main focus there is on acts like who's playing. I think it's Foo Fighters. So it's like the really pop bands, rock bands, and yeah, to be there as an electronic DJ is, yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to pause here for a second, give a shout out to Roman Polanski that tuned in from your channel. Is Roman one of your
Yes,
friends?
yes, he's a guy that sometimes comes along with me. Yeah.
Right on, Roman. What's up? Thanks for tuning into the show today. Well, that's awesome. You're doing Tomorrowland again. The event you're going to be hosting there or performing at there sounds amazing. But in May, late May, you were at an event that had 40,000 people at it. I
Yes,
saw some of those
exactly.
promo pics on stage. Tell us about
Yeah.
that event and what that was all about.
It was actually it was on a Monday, which is but it's like the city festival that's been there for I don't know how many years, but I think it goes on for like 60 years already or even more. And yeah, I was really baffled because I didn't know it was so big. But yeah, it was in a big square, and yeah, it was 40,000 people. So on a Monday, so that's something different. Yeah, I've done it before. Also need to say that I love to play for really big crowds, but I also really enjoy playing for intimate, smaller crowds. So
You
I
know
like
that
both.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the questions I do ask people on the
Yeah,
show is, do you prefer bigger crowds or do you prefer more smaller intimate crowds? I know some DJs out there on their rider, they will literally say, I don't want to play in a place that's more than 300 or 400 people. They really want to be in touch with their audience. I mean, they will play bigger shows, but they really like that intimate club vibe. We used to have a club here in Seattle called Sea Sound Lounge, and I think capacity on the main floor was maybe $150. Maybe, I mean, if they squeezed us all in there, they put 200 people in there, it'd get wall to wall. You're
nice,
like this,
you know?
But you were 10 feet away from the DJ. You know, and to see the likes, I just will never forget when I saw Chuck Love play there. And I only had one song that I knew of Chuck Love's that was it was a Jimster remix of his Dancing at Night, I think. It was just, I love that track so much. Still one of my favorites of all time. And I'm sitting in the club. I'm 3 feet away from him by the booth. Well, first of all, I was outside of the club and I didn't know anything about the guy, but he was practicing on his trombone.
Okay.
And do you know Chuck Love by any chance?
No.
So Chuck Love, the guy is not only a DJ, producer, but he'll play 7 different live instruments and sing over top of his tracks.
That's nice.
Performing.
That's really nice.
So I'd seen him outside the club, and I'm like, who's this guy with a trombone playing?
Outside
the club, and I'm like, this is really weird. I thought he was just maybe some homeless guy looking for money. Right? And so I go into the club, I'm watching him play, and I'm like, well, that's the guy that was just out on the street corner. Okay, this is the DJ that's playing. And then he drops that Jimster remix of his track on, and I went, oh my God. There was a girl, like an assistant that he was with. I typed on my phone. I said,
Jimster, I know Jimster.
So I typed on my phone. I go, is this Chuck Love? And I walk up to her and I go, because it was so loud in the club. I go, and she goes, yes, this is him. And I go, boom. I'm just watching that guy perform, but being able to be 3 feet away from him, you know, I mean, even just right at the front of the stage, you know, it wasn't like a packed Tomorrowland kind of stage. It was a very intimate setting. It was just amazing. So that intimate vibe versus the big festival vibe, there is obviously that difference there. Which do you prefer more?
Both are amazing to do, you know, so I don't have a preference, but obviously if you have the really, really big stages and you see 30,000-40,000 people go off, you know, it gives a special feeling. But you know, the thing is, mainly if you have the really big events, you only play like an hour 30 minutes maximum, and it's still difficult to create a story. So that's why if I play the more intimate gigs, I try to do an all-nighter or play 3-4 hour sessions, and then you can really create the story. And that's what I really like, because that's how I also started out as a DJ back in the day. I played all night. So I started at 10 in the evening. Sometimes I played till 4 in the afternoon. So, you know, So we didn't have a closing.
Oh my God.
We didn't have a closing hour. So I remember one day in
that's
Zillion,
like 18-hour sets.
18-hour sets on vinyl.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
On vinyl. Yeah.
Wow.
I did a couple of those.
It's I like that you bring up the fact of being able to tell a story. You know, back in the day, we started with the DJ sessions, and I would do 1 hour sets. We had a 4-hour show. 4 DJs would come on and do 1 hour sets. I now switched the format to our DJs, when they play, they do a 2-hour show, so they can actually get into it and tell us, get their real mix, real groove on. You know, I do break it up into part 1 and part 2 for easily digestible content, but you know, at least they get that. When we're live streaming, it's a 2-hour mix, but then when we do it post production, you know, we break it up and say part 1 is an hour, part 2 is an hour. Kind of take that from the old school Global Underground CD days with Oakenfold, Sasha Digweed, Danny, and all those guys, you know, and they had the one disc and then they had the second disc, you know, and sometimes on the second disc, you got some, it wasn't the second disc was a B-side. That second disc was like, it's ready to start all over again and get you back in. I mean, I love those collections.
I have a lot of those Global Underground CDs here.
The Paul Oakenfold 007 one was the first one I ever bought, and I referenced it in my interview when he was one of the first guests I had on the show, and we were doing ITV Nightlife before it became the DJ sessions. And I brought it up to him. I'm like, on the back of the album it said, if he were a glove, he'd be Gucci. If he was a car, he'd be a Mercedes Benz. And I brought that up in the interview with him. This is like 2000, probably 2009, I think, somewhere around there, maybe 2000 somewhere. And he was like, you remember that from the back of the Global Underground? I'm like, yeah. So which one are you? Will you still be a Gucci glove or the Mercedes Benz car? And he's like, yeah. Unfortunately,
And
the audio of that interview got tanked. We had
uh,
some complications with it, and I couldn't salvage it. I was so bummed, but
yeah,
yeah, it was a fun
yeah, but
time.
the memory is still there, so
Yeah, the memory's
that's
still there. I got some promo shots for it, so I'm on the couch with them. Still been
okay.
working on getting them on the show, but we were talking about crowds, intimate settings, large scale events. Was the biggest crowd you ever played for also your best crowd?
No, but definitely want to remember. I think the really the biggest crowd I ever did was the city parade. It's like the Love Parade, but here in Belgium, and I think it was up almost 100,000 people. So that's a huge crowd to say the least. Yeah, and of course, if you see so many people in front of you, it's always special. Every DJ that says that it's not special is lying. Yeah,
I mean, I just, there's the new trend that I've seen happening over the past, I'm not sure when it exactly started. I want to say that I've noticed it over the last few years is you have these big festivals, EDC, Tomorrowland, just these big things going on. And you see the DJs and they're up on stage and they're performing, but they aren't wearing headphones. And what is your take on that trend that's happening with these big shows? Because like, are you really mixing your show now? And I know how light production goes. I know how the whole backstage
yeah,
things
yeah,
go.
yeah.
You don't want to
Yeah,
have
that's
a
the
lighting
thing.
designer. I won't give any secrets away. That's like giving away David Copperfield. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm not going to ruin it for
Yeah,
you.
no, no,
But
I know.
what's your take? Yeah, what's your take on that? These DJs and the criticism they might receive for not.
I think it's very simple. If you can pull 20, 30, 50,000 people in front of you, it's because those people want to come and see you and they want to see a show. And if he's mixing live, okay, that's great. If he's not mixing live, he's putting up a show. I know a lot of bands, pop rock, whatever, that also don't play live or do semi live. So even Madonna, I think there is enough on the internet. She doesn't sing live, but people come to watch the show. So there are two aspects for me. One aspect is, do you want to see a show or do you want to see a DJ performance? And I think that's something that people need to know. They need to find out for themselves. If they only want to see a DJ show, then go to the more intimate gigs or whatever where they play, because I'm definitely sure you can find them. Most of those big names also play in Ibiza for lesser crowds. So, and if you have the really big shows, not wearing a headphone, sometimes they wear in ears, so you don't even see the headphone.
That's true. I
Uh,
didn't think about
yeah,
that. Now that I think about,
yeah,
dang, I didn't ever
yeah.
think about
So,
that.
so they wear in ears, you don't see it, but still they're doing stuff live.
Yeah.
Like I know really, I know a lot of those big guys. I know how they do it, but yeah, they still play live. It's
Mhm.
still mixing. It's not that they push a button and then 1 hour later they take out the USB key. No, they still do something. They still perform. So, okay, sometimes it's a couple of tracks that are combined into one mix. But yeah, I think that's the technology nowadays. When we were playing vinyl back in the day, we used to have 3, 4 decks and do a loop with two of the same records. Now it's much easier. You just press the button. So yeah, okay, but you can do a lot of other stuff that's interesting and which makes it great to be a DJ even now.
Mhm. Now, do you become a different person when you get on stage, or do you become a different person when you get off stage, or is Dave Lambert? I run into you at a restaurant. You're Dave Lambert eating dinner, and you're Dave Lambert in front of those 100,000 people. Are you the same person when you get on stage, or do you have a
I, I,
persona?
I
Or
tend I tend to say yes, but I think I'll be a little bit different when I'm on stage, because you get the adrenaline kicked in. So I think that's normal. You're much more of a performer when you're on stage than off stage. But I tend to say that I'm still the same person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier about you playing large scale events versus intimate events. Back in the day when clubs first started, DJs weren't really the focal point. I remember the first club
No.
that I would go to called the Underground at 18 years old, and the club had a stage. It had a dance floor and a stage. We would be up on the stage dancing, and the dancers were pretty much the focal point looking out over the club. And the DJ was up high in this DJ booth looking out over the
Exactly.
dance floor. And you could
Yes.
see him up there. Donald Glaude was one of the first DJs I ever saw playing up in this booth, and he'd be up there rocking out the booth. But the club was what took time that finally they'd move the DJ onto the stage. I remember I went to one of my first raves that I went to called Green X and Ham here in Seattle. It was a big dance hall. They had the whole dance floor. They had the stage and they had blocks that dancers. It was like a Cat in the Hat kind of themed, Dr. Seuss themed rave. But they put the DJ up on the balcony, way up, Donald Glaude, way up here on the
Yeah.
balcony with like 3 or 4 turntables looking down over the crowd. They did not make the DJ the focal point of the event. And,
But that's also something I really don't like, to be up too high and have no interaction at all.
yeah, yeah,
And another thing, sometimes they put like a white light right in your face and you cannot even see the dance floor. I hate that. I always tell to my crew, please ask him to put down the light or even shut it up. Shut it up.
yeah. But,
Because
yeah, it
I
was
think that's the most important thing. You have the interaction with the crowd. But like you said, back in the day, was the DJ was not important.
Yeah, and that leads me into my question. At clubs or other dance events, should people look at the DJs like they're rock stars, or would it be more fun if DJs were just sort of like more anonymous again and just part of the bigger event? What's your take on that?
No, I think it's a good thing that they get the recognition, and that it becomes like yeah, like a pop rock band back in the day. If you speak early '90s, a DJ wasn't that important. Now the DJ is important, so I think yes, that's a good thing. I think also you have to make the difference between if you play a big festival or a big event where the DJ is centerpiece. It's different than in a club. Like if I still play in a club nowadays, not everybody watches the DJ. They're also watching each other. It's a different vibe. So I think it's a good trend. That DJs become bigger and bigger, and yeah, pull bigger crowds.
Awesome. And that brings me to a point. I've seen this happen, kind of a trend, obviously with the advent of cell phones and video on cell phones and pictures and those, becoming, more prevalent. I've seen these parties come out and there was one here in Seattle, but I've seen it at other places and they're starting to do this a little bit more often they were called no signal parties. And you get to the door, they take your mobile device, they lock it in a bag and put it behind the door. There's a company out there that they're using this in schools now. They drop the phone in the bag. It's a magnetic lock on it. At the end of the day, when you check out, it unlocks the bag and then you can pull your phone
Yeah.
out. And getting back to that original internet, we didn't have cell phones in the club growing up. We didn't have
Nope.
cameras. Luckily, I was able to bring a video camera into the nightclub in 1992,
VHS.
93, 94. Because you didn't see people film it. Because where were we going to distribute it? We're going to go back and watch it
Yeah.
at home. Just like a cell phone being filmed in a club, it's going to look like crap because the lighting's not there.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like crap because you're not patching into the audio board. Probably going to be all shaky and I got very steady hands. I can do the
Okay.
steady hand thing. But people are usually like being bounced around on the dance floor. And what is your take on cell phones in the club? Do you think that maybe clubs should say, "Hey, don't bring cell phones in"? Don't, because then they're not having a good time. They're like this, or they're watching the show
or
and they're
filming.
watching. They're like this. Or they're trying to bug
No,
the
I
DJ to go
think
get a selfie and say, "Hey, can I?"
yeah.
While the DJ's
Yeah.
trying to mix. What is your
It's
take
a
on
really
that?
hot, yeah, it's a really hot topic at the moment because I
Mhm.
see a lot of big events like Afterlife also doesn't want any phones anymore, so which actually made them so huge as they are right now because everybody was filming their production and it went viral. So it has to for me it's a really good thing because if I play out as a DJ, I'll only love one thing, that's that people enjoy and interact and dance, and not start filming. So I've been a couple of times in Berlin, and in Berlin, they've been doing it for ages, the no phone policy. So yeah, I think it's a good evolution, and people should go out not to film, but to go party and to enjoy. So I think it's a really good evolution, and I think it's also necessary because nowadays, if you see, like I said, Afterlife, people are more filming than enjoying. So yeah.
It'd be
Where's
really
the fun?
cool. I remember when disposable cameras came out, Kodak and
Yeah,
Fuji, they were making these disposable cameras. So, if you didn't have a camera, you pick one up, you take it to the wedding so you could at least
yeah.
get some photos if you forgot your camera at home. It'd be really interesting if one of the companies came out and made a digital camera that had like, it would let you take a limited number of shots, like 30 shots for the night,
Hmm.
then you could maybe sell those cameras at the event, and people could then take pictures on that digital camera and then plug it in online, upload the photos, and they'd have 30 pictures.
Not
They'd be
more.
limited to
Yeah,
how many they could take. So they aren't just sitting there all night long trying to shoot everything, and
yeah.
then they'd still have some memories of the night. I think that would be an interesting thing to
You know,
look into if you locked everyone's phones off.
yeah. In the club, we do it different. Okay, people still use their phone once in a while, but like in Versus, we always have a camera guy, so he's filming and
Yeah.
he's taking pictures, and we put it up on our socials so people can have a picture in good quality by a professional photographer and not by an iPhone. So I think maybe also the bigger event should look at that, so people still can see the pictures, but can enjoy the time and not have to be there in the hand with their iPhone in their hand and trying to capture everything because you can see it online afterwards.
Yeah, and Apple had been. It was mentioned that Apple was toying with putting something into their phones, an infrared sensor into their phones, and what would happen is the stage would have infrared beams shooting out, and if the iPhone detected that beam, when you hit record, it'd say, "Sorry, can't record right now."
Yeah,
So it would
it's like
basically
a
shut
laser
down a
thing.
device from filming or recording any of the audio or video or taking pictures at an event.
I,
And I don't know if
that's
that's
the
going to
next
be
step.
implemented or not.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be implemented. If I see the evolution now, a couple of festivals here in Belgium, where some of
Exactly.
the stages also have a no phone policy, it's going to be the next step for sure.
Because yeah, I mean that would change the game for everyone. It's like, you know, that would just be interesting. I
Yeah,
can't remember, I don't think it was Taylor Swift. I know a couple comedians. I think Jamie Foxx did it at his event. I don't know if it was a Taylor Swift show or some other big artist that said a no cell phone policy. I know
yeah,
Prince used to do it all the time. He said no. A lot of these artists, no recordings of our shows. If you were caught, they'd see it, they'd call it out, they'd come and
yeah.
escort you right out of the show, or
Yeah,
they
it's the
grab your
same
camera and
in
say,
the
nope, we're confiscating this. You can get it at the end of the show. Things
no,
of that
same
nature.
in
But
Berlin. If they catch you taking out a camera, yeah, they just throw you out. Yeah,
yeah. So now you literally played countless large scale events. And we all know
yes.
what happens on stage because we're there, people are watching you. But can you give us some insight onto what is the craziest thing you ever seen happen backstage?
That's the thing, especially in the summer season. Like to give you an idea, this Saturday I have 4 festivals, so there is not a lot of backstage. It's just trying to be in the car on time to make it to the next one. So, but yeah, if I don't have another gig, yeah, I tend to stay a little bit longer and talk to the people because it's also pretty lonely sometimes because when you're on stage, you're performing, but I love to interact with people afterwards also and have a chat and see how they're doing. Most of the time, it's like friended DJs that you see on tour, but sometimes only see on stage when they take over from you. But when you're in the backstage, you have the time to have a chat and see what's really going on in life with them. Not just a simple hi bye. Uh, but yeah, I can tell you numerous of stories about backstage stuff going on, but most of the time it's not that not that special. It's more of a social thing, having a drink together, having a talk. Yeah.
Who's the most influential person you've ever met backstage? You
I
say
think
it really inspired you to say, "I never got a chance because we've always just met in passing, but we actually got
I
to
did.
sit
It
down and."
didn't inspire me. It was the king of Belgium, so he was at a gig where I performed. So he's he didn't inspire me, but it's something special to see
Yeah.
him next to you on stage. So
Well, I mean,
yeah,
that's like having the president of the United States or something. That's like
exactly. Yeah,
royalty.
similar.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
similar. Yeah. Yeah, it was
Wow.
funny. I met him backstage, and we chatted 5 minutes, and so that was a funny thing. Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on stage, and how did you recuperate from that?
Oh, I can tell a story. It's not that actually it was at Tomorrowland, and I can say that because it happened. So I was performing. It was a smaller stage, and all of a sudden the power cut off, which sometimes happens. So, but the thing was, they couldn't get it back online in time. So I was standing there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and nothing happened. So they couldn't get it back online. So that was really early days Tomorrowland. I'm pretty convinced it won't happen again now. But in the early days, Tomorrowland started out small, so and stuff
Mhm.
like that could happen. And also on another occasion, I was driving like a madman to make it to the booking because I had another one before, and it started raining, but really thunderstorms, wind, and I was driving like, yeah, over the speed limit to get there in time on stage. And just when I drew onto the parking, I got a text. Yeah, the festival is canceled due to the horrible weather. I was just driving like a nutcase in this weather to be on time. So yeah, stuff like that happened. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, there's
No,
always the year
it's
after.
not.
Eh,
You gotta do what you gotta do to make the show happen. I have a number one rule that I go by is that
Yeah,
the show must go on. I mean, I
yeah.
won't put anyone in danger.
No,
If there's a
no,
torrential
no, no, no.
downpour, rain or lightning storm. But
Uh,
I've often sat back and said, being kind of the executive producer, the host of the show, the video editor, the website, the content
yeah,
developer, and the back end of the website and the media, the marketing, the PR, and doing all of it, I just don't. I wouldn't sit back and just rest on my laurels. The show has to go on. We got to get out there. We got to make it. Kind of like the mailman. We work in
yeah,
any type of weather. We got to make the show go on.
yeah. But if you're shut down by authorities, you don't have the choice.
Yeah, you don't have the choice. You
Uh,
don't have the choice.
yeah.
If you could host an event of your own without any limitations, what would be the 5 things you would want to have at that event?
Different kind of stages for first thing, for different kind types of music. Not too big, not too small. So it needs to be a little bit bigger to be able to have a production up to a certain level. Uh, Try to implement something people didn't see yet. So being upfront with something. To give you an idea, in Zillion we had a zero gravity floor, but this was end of the 90s, beginning 2000. So there were 2,000 people standing on a platform that could drop for 10 centimeters. So that it just dropped, so you felt yeah, airless, So yeah,
What?
yeah. That's like I said, the club was way beyond its time. So it's like this, something like this, and then the floor just dropped. So everybody was like, yeah, and they released that on the drop of a record, so that gave the extra impact. But imagine to have that on a festival for 40,000 people, that would be insane. Yeah, yeah. So stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, do something new that people can talk about. That's new for them too.
yeah.
and
I mean,
then and
that's
then last but not least, yeah, have the right DJs play, of course, people that can set a vibe, and that also would definitely look at starting the event slow, like a really good warm-up DJ, because I think most of those guys are way underrated, because it really builds the night or builds the event. So if you have a DJ that starts out way too hard, way too pushy, let people come in first, let people enjoy, let people see what's going on, build up an atmosphere. I think that's really important. So that would be something I would really look at, to have that right DJ to start, and then also the right one to finish it off, of course.
absolutely. I think the lineup is definitely key that
Yeah,
can set the tone and having. experienced DJs, and you see sometimes with the younger DJs, they come on board, they're so wanting to
Eager.
perform and wanting to show what they got, and
Yeah.
I had it just happened a few months ago here in Seattle. I think one of the headliners got really upset because the DJ came out and they said, I want to play between. I think they wanted to play between like 128, 132 or something like that. And somebody came
Hmm.
out and they were hitting it at 134, and it just was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It says it in my writer. This isn't supposed to happen. And that DJ that opened will probably never get another booking, at least from that company ever again.
No, no. Yeah.
And they got the attitude is like, it doesn't matter. I was here. I played. I came and saw it. It's like, yeah, but you did it to a room full of 10 people because you were opening DJ, but you pissed off the headliner.
You always have to know your place. I think that's
Exactly.
important without doing too much concessions. But yeah, just know that you're not the main guy that they're coming for.
And I guess that is a good piece of advice, and know the main guy you're coming for anything. But would there be one other key piece of advice that you would give to up and coming DJs slash producers to look out for? The one thing you could say to them is like, hey, do this or don't do this. What would that piece of advice be?
Think out of the box. I think that's the main important thing. Not stay in your genre because there is so much more music than, for instance, only tech house. And I'm sure if you find a different type of record, you can still implement it in your set without losing your story. So, and that can really make a difference. And also try to find music that nobody else has. It's difficult nowadays. Back in the day when it was still vinyl, sometimes in Belgium, for instance, you only had like 5 vinyls coming in, and that's it. So if you were one of the 5 guys having that vinyl, you were one of the lucky ones. Now everybody has everything. So
Yeah.
and try to produce your own music. Try to produce your own bootlegs, your own mashups. Make sure that your set is different than somebody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of speaking of mixes, couple left few questions here before we wrap up. Do you listen to podcasts, live streams, or radio shows? And if you do, what are the top ones that you listen to? Like when you're not producing music, you're listening to other tracks. If you're out there,
Yeah.
is there top three that you could say this one's hot, this one's hot, this one's hot, and what would those three
Yeah.
be?
For me, the one I listen to the most is DJ Choose Stereo Productions.
Okay.
I just love his show. I love his music. I've been following this guy for 25 years. Also know him. Really friendly guy, and I just love his music, and I love the show. And next to that, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Frankie Rizardo, also the Flow podcast, also listen to that. And Joris Vorn, also listen to his podcast once in a while. Uh, but most of the time when I'm in the car, I'm trying to listen to all the promos I get sent to. So there is the in-flight app, and actually that's the only tool that I still open because people also send me Fat Drop and I don't know all the other promo tools. But in flight is really good because I can even listen to it on the plane. I don't need internet. I can always listen to it. Also listen to it in the car and try to find that one record to be able to stand out in my set. So I listen to a lot of new music, and therefore podcasts are a good thing, but also listening to promos is a good thing. But you have to listen to a lot of it to find one good record to play out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like I said earlier in the show, I'm just curious when I open up the floodgates on that label and let people know.
Yes.
Even though I open up the label and we aren't taking outside submissions, we'll probably get people hitting us up just for submissions anyways.
True. True.
It's like, whoa, and don't forget you want to add the DJ sessions to your listening list as well because we got
Of
exclusive
course.
mixes
Of
and
course.
interviews and all
Yes.
that fun stuff and more there at the DJsessions.com. Awesome. Well, Dave, is there anything else you want to let our DJ sessions know about before we let you go?
Yeah, just I would say check out my SoundCloud page. I think that gives a good reflection of what I do because there are a lot of sets on there, from a lot of live sets, but in different genres. So check out soundcloud.com/DJ Dave Lambert and find out who I am.
Cool. And that information would also be best found at your website, djdavelambert.com,
.com.
right?
That's the one. Yes, you can
Awesome.
find
I was
everything
there
there.
looking today. That's a really sharp website. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I know.
I need to update it.
I mean, yeah, I trust me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wear a lot of hats over here, and I am the
Yeah.
back end of everything. I tell people if they send an email, contact us, social, it's going to get to me because I manage all of that.
Yeah, crazy.
DJDaveLambert.com. Check him out there. And also, we're going to be getting an exclusive mix from you as well. Yes. Super excited for that. We'll get that up here in rotation on our stations and get it out to our fans. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the DJ sessions today. We'll follow up with you, as we try to do as a tradition here at the DJ sessions with somebody every 6 months, because you got a lot of stuff going on, and we want our DJ sessions fans to know more about what you have and what who your team is you're working with, and get some of them involved in the show as well.
Sure.
So again, thank you for coming on the series today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Meta, find us on X, find us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those places, IG. We're out there, but you can find everything at thedjsessions.com. We got a mobile app we've launched. We're in virtual reality. We have over 600 news stories aggregated to our site every month. We got exclusive mixes, exclusive interviews, contests, our store, all that fun stuff at thedjsessions.com. I'm your host, Darren, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington. That's Dave Lambert coming in from Belgium, and that is a Murdonk. I got that right?
Yeah.
Murdonk, just outside of, you said?
Antwerp.
Antwerp. Yeah. And check them out.
But
check
like
us out.
Tomorrowland is 30 minutes from here. So 30-minute drive.
Okay, I'm coming to stay with you when I come over there.
Yes.
Awesome. Sounds great, Dave. Thank you again for coming on the series. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And remember, on that note, on the DJ sessions, the music never stops.